Hi, boys and girls. It's Friday, April the 24th, and this is your science lesson. We have been studying chapter 10 about matter and the three forms of matter: solid, liquid, gas. Today we've made it to the activity. So in the textbook, it shows you the problem we need to solve and the procedures 1 through 7 of how to solve this problem of changing a solid. Notice the material list and see the children have completed the activity. So today you're going to need to round up these materials in your home, and if you haven't been able to do that, I have already done the experiment. Now I'm going to show you what I've done. So I took a recipe and it called for semi-sweet chocolate morsels. Okay, and I opened up the bag of morsels and notice, like you see on the package, they are a solid. Okay, you see the cute little tip of each morsel for the chocolate chip. So I poured the bag of morsels into a saucepan or a pot. And then I heated it up and I had to stir. And as the heat is going to make contact with the pot, this pot is going to heat up and everything on the inside changes from its solid state to a liquid. So my recipe required me to melt down those semi-sweet chocolate morsels so that it was real liquidy. And then I needed to add peanut butter and Rice Krispie cereal. And before I had done that part of the recipe, I had to bake brownies and let them cool. And then I had to ice the brownies with white vanilla icing and sprinkle some chopped nuts. So when everything came together, it went back to a solid. Think of this dessert as 3 layers. There was the chocolate brownie on the bottom. Now, you know what's interesting about that? When I made the brownie mix, it went from solid because of the powdery brownie mixture. Then it became liquidy because I added vegetable oil, water, and eggs. So the brownie mix went through a lot of transformations. I pour it in the pan and it's at its liquid state. But the heat changed the brownie mixture from being liquidy and gooey to being a solid, and it cooled. And then I told you about the next layer was the white vanilla icing with the brown nuts chopped on top of it. And then I told you about melting the chocolate morsels into a liquid state and adding Rice Krispies and peanut butter. Now what's interesting, when I poured that liquid mixture on top of the white mixture, it's all liquidy at that time. You know what happened? How did it get back to this solid where everything is in one uniform piece? And if you touch it, it would feel kind of hard. The secret was putting it in the refrigerator. And the temperature inside the refrigerator, 37 degrees Fahrenheit, it changed a liquid mixture back into a solid. So today you're going to have fun experimenting. You're going to need chocolate chips, crayon pieces, and ice pieces. Now in your activity manual, you're supposed to make your prediction in the first column of what you think is going to happen. And then on this column, the final column, how the solid changed when you added heat. So let's make a prediction. What do you think happens to chocolate chips when they're heated? You get liquid chocolate, right? Nice and liquidy. Think of it like a thick chocolate syrup. What do you think happens to crayon pieces? Remember, a crayon is made out of wax. I hope you said that they will melt, they'll liquefy. And then ice. Think about ice coming out of your freezer into your glass. When you first put the ice in the glass, you still have a nice solid piece of ice. But what happens throughout time if you leave the glass out? The ice begins to melt, right? So we kind of already know that from life, that when things are heated up, they can melt, condense, liquefy. Okay, we've even learned about the water vapor, the condensation. Now I'm going to ask you some questions about your science. Let's make it go to some more real life examples. So I want you to think about being offered a piece of candy. Has the candy ever stuck in your hand? Now I want you to think about your hand. Is your hand warmer or cooler than the air around you? Usually you would say your hand is warmer. At room temperature, the candy stays solid, but when it gets warmer, it starts to change and may get sticky and soft. That's why they'll tell you when you're putting Easter eggs together and you're putting candy in the egg, a lot of places that take donations, like schools and churches, they'll ask, please do not put any chocolate candy inside the eggs. They will melt in the heat, in the sun, and then the kid who gets that egg is going to open it and ooh, all their candy is going to be gross and ruined. Okay, so again, in this activity you're going to do today, in your activity manual, I want you to test these solids and see whether they change. And if they do change, how long does it take? Okay, so here's some little science facts to be thinking about. When matter changes from a solid to a liquid, what happens to the solids? Starts with an M. It melts. Okay, when you melted your ice cube, you should have noticed that it was getting like water. It melted. What form of matter did the ice cube become? Was it a solid, liquid, or gas? You should have said a liquid. What has to happen to a solid to make it change to a liquid? It has to be heated. How did we add heat to the ice cube? So did you leave it in a warm room so your ice cube would melt? How will you be adding heat to the solids in today's activity? Now, in the classroom, we would have rubbed these things in our hand because we wouldn't have had a microwave or a stove. Or we could have set them in our windowsill on our west wall where the sun always shines through by your cubby. So we could have either rubbed the items in our hand to create a heat source, changing it from the solid to the liquid, or set it in our windowsill. Now, I do not advise you to use your microwave or stove today for this activity unless there's an adult in the house with you. Okay, so if there's no adult and you're going to go ahead and do your activity in the activity manual, again, use your windowsill, maybe go outside or rub it, create friction with your hand. All right, I hope you enjoy, and if you're interested in the recipe, you could always message me and I'll give it to you. It's real simple, but so delicious. It's kind of like 3 desserts in one. And you know how much I love my chocolate. So it was good and fun to make. Make it a great day and happy doing your science experiment.